What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Cup, the currently unnamed podcast, where we put the tea in reality, and you can always come to us first to quench your thirst. I am Aneesa AJ, also known as Sam DMV, also known as Sam de Monteverde, your fellow friendly 5'4", trans, non-binary, Filipino, Canadian, mentally unstable hot mess, hailing all the way from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, Scarborough, if you want to be specific. And today we got some real Canadian natural spring water. Cause hydration.
And yeah, first off, before I do my intro, if you hear that little beeping noise coming through, it's because my roommate's needs to change the fire alarm, and I don't know where the batteries are at, so sorry. But I'm AJ. I'm a 22-year-old college graduate who plays way too much Smash Bros. Except for this weekend when my car broke down on the way to a tournament. And we're talking about the mole today, and I will continue to drink water almost every week. Unless I get access to a Starbucks, then I'll gladly be drinking like a white chocolate frap or something. Just like something tasty. Yeah.
You know, actually, fun fact, like my first ever drink from a Starbucks around when I was like, like 11 or 12 or so, because I used to live near one, was a white chocolate mocha.
Ooh. Well, I used to get this like chocolate cookie crumble frap because I don't really drink a lot of coffee. Like I'm like a basic bitch, and I started losing weight lately. I don't know if it's been obvious in the pods, but just in case. But I went from like a 500, 600 calorie drink to like a 300 calorie drink.
I love that.
We've just been vibing, just
no, but congrats.
Thank you. But we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about the mole.
Yes, we are. And we are talking through episodes 7 through 9, and a lot happens despite how small the cast is now. So last time we were with y'all, Kasi took the exemption. It's final 7. Kasi's in a nice luxury hotel all to herself while everyone's just in a little desolate room. Chowing down on ramen noodles and sleeping on sleeping bags.
Yeah. So I will be mentioning this throughout the episode because Avery did a Q&A video on her YouTube channel about the season. And something she mentioned is they did unchain them, which was something we had talked about last week, but we weren't sure if they unchained them after the challenge. They did. Okay, but yeah, they were all a little bit bitter for that evening.
Yeah, I think we said it before towards the end of our last episode, but like Kasi truly like mothered. She ate that.
She really did. Goes up, unshackles herself, puts that key back, snags that exemption card,
gives him a smirk, and
walks out. Yeah.
So then we get to. Oh, I also forgot to mention. I don't know if we mentioned this last episode, but like we also get this confessional from Kasi being like, I'm not sorry about it.
I mean, they all would have done the same thing, and she's right. They all would have.
Yeah.
And again, Avery talked about this in her video. She's like, yeah, I was going to take that exemption if I got up there. Absolutely. Why wouldn't I have? Like,
exactly.
It was 10 grand. It's not like 10 grand.
It was actually 20 grand. It was 20 grand.
No, the chain mission was 10. Was 10.
Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah. Chain mission was 10. And she's like, it's 10 grand. It's not like it was $25,000 or anything like that.
Yeah.
And she also knew that somebody else would have taken it if she didn't, because need I remind you, Greg was still in the game. Joy was still in the game. Like, all of these people that we know are avid game players that would have taken this exemption. And risk reward, it made the most sense for her game.
It did. It really did. So we get them just talking back in this hotel. Everyone's still mad. Kasi doesn't regret her decision. So we get to the quiz. We're standing around $49,500.
Yeah, as of this point, it was $49,500, which for the group, almost double what they had when Joy snatched $25K out of the pot. Yes. Yeah, they're doing a lot better than they were at this point.
They are. So we get a couple like names getting thrown out. We got like Cassie, we got sorry, not Avery. We got Casey thrown out,
Mhm.
and I think we also get a bit of Joy thrown out as well. And I think those are
Yeah.
the main three.
And then they're just, going back and forth a little bit. And it's final seven. This is when your suspicions are going to start getting heightened more than they already were. Hedging
Right.
your bets can only work for so long. And I think people are starting to try to like nitpick because they know if they figure out who the mole is before that final quiz, they're guaranteed to make it a lot farther than people that are still hedging their bets. So you can only be safe for so long.
Yep. I think really at during the final seven, like the only names as like in this episode alone that really weren't being thrown out were Avery, were Will,
And
and
at this
Greg.
point, no one really threw out Jacob's name at this point either.
Oh no, Casey. Casey did.
Oh,
Avery.
she did. You're right. You're right.
Casey threw out
Absolutely.
Jacob. Avery always had her suspicion on Jacob.
Well, especially after the bank heist.
The bank heist,
She was pretty sus of him.
Oh,
But
very.
I can't really blame her because the man can't count apparently. So
Yeah.
um
So and I feel like there was a bit of foreshadowing, especially with one person in particular, who just so happened to get eliminated, which is our dear COVID nurse in Casey.
yeah. They took a quiz that morning after the hotel. And that was Casey's time to go. It's kind of unfortunate. She was a pretty fun character when she got screen time. But I feel like we all kind of knew it was going to be Casey at this point if she wasn't the mole.
Yeah. For me, when I was watching it, I was like fully set on like it was either Casey or Jacob.
Yeah, because Greg was still getting the same edit he had been getting of this like sneaky little game player.
And Will has also been getting the same edit on being the omnipotence that he supposedly is.
He provides all of this money for his beautiful plot that he has created himself. Yes. And then you have Joy, who's been the main character of the season to this point. We knew Coffee was safe because of the exemption.
Avery's getting the same edit.
Yeah, Avery's getting the game player edit too. So between Casey and Jacob, it was only one of the two of them going to happen. And because people were suspicious of Jacob but not really as suspicious of Casey, it just made the most sense. But I will say, Casey, not purpled, which is
not at all purple.
Yeah, especially after the mountain mission. She wasn't. There was no way for her to be purpled after that.
I feel like she started losing the purple after the red button.
Absolutely. Because even during the prison mission, when she was one of the two masterminds on the prison mission, it was so much more focused on Dom and how he was reacting to everything than her. But Dom was a very big character for the first half of the season, so I can kind of understand.
Oh, for sure. So without further ado, we go on to our next mission, and it is in an art museum.
So the candidates are taken to this art museum in Sydney, where they are shown two pictures that are both called modern art exhibits. They're both. It's kind of hard to describe one of them. The other one is kind of easy to describe. But regardless, two pictures that both look like stereotypical modern art, which is the whole thing. Like it's just random painting.
We get on the left, we get this almost like Jackson Pollock-esque kind of splatter paint with a bunch of like splats of like yellow, of green, of blue, and red.
And there's 6 colors in the painting, which is something that will be touched upon during the next little bit.
Yeah. So then, and then on the right, we get this like it's almost like stenciled in the word
octagon.
Stop.
Yeah.
And then an octagon, kind of corona around it.
Yeah. And it's just the word stop. A little bit of like almost like burn shading on the outside of the octagon. But So Alex says, okay, so we're going to ask all 6 of you to pick which one of these paintings was painted by a real artist that's on display here at this gallery, and which one of these paintings was painted by the mole. And everyone gets to guess individually. This is not a group decision. Everybody gets an individual guess. So Jacob, Joy, and Avery choose the stop sign, and then Greg, Kossie, and Will choose the splatter painting for various reasons. I remember a couple people were saying that the splatters, because there were 6 colors, it could represent the 6 of them. And like each color could have like some sort of like representation of who everybody else was. Some people thought the stop sign was a little bit on the nose.
Yeah, they were like, "Oh, it looks too perfect. Like that can easily be like stenciled in by anyone."
Mm-hmm. And then Alex is like, "Okay, well, one of these paintings is about to self-destruct," and they pull the Banksy, and the stop sign picture just slides into the shredder, and it comes out in ribbons on the other side. So Avery, Jacob, and Joy were all correct, and Greg, Kossie, and Will were all wrong. And this is when this mission kind of takes this weird left turn. And I will admit, out of all of the episodes this season, this is the one I think was kind of the least fully constructed. That felt the most half-baked to me, if that makes any sense. The mission itself, I like the idea of it, but I don't feel like it was developed properly.
Yeah. So after this, we get into what do we get into?
So Avery, Jacob, and Joy are all taken separately into 3 separate vehicles. And that's all we see of them. They just go out and they're going to get a prize. What we're told is that they will have the opportunity to compete for an exemption on the quiz. Greg, Kossie, and Will, however, just go back to the hotel for the evening. They don't do anything. Mm-hmm. So what we find out is this mission is for $20,000. And between Avery, Jacob, and Joy, 2 of them did a crazy once-in-a-lifetime kind of random experience in their life that that would be completely off the walls of the average human being. And one of them went into a hotel room and did absolutely nothing.
Yep.
So
okay, sorry, I wanna interject real quick, because with this edit, we see Jacob going into somewhere, we see Avery going into somewhere, and we see Joy going into somewhere. The thing is, we see Joy going into like a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, I'm fully set. Joy is gonna be the one that does nothing.
Yeah. During the edit, I was trying to think like, okay, I don't know how much control the 3 of them have over who goes where and all of that, like the order of the people and any of that specific stuff. And I'll talk about it a little bit after we cover the whole mission. But Avery revealed a little bit more behind the scenes about this particular mission as well that the edit didn't really cover, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But so Avery, Jacob, and Joy, 2 of them go out and do this crazy, unique thing, and then one of them just goes back to the hotel and does nothing. Greg, Kossie, and Will are told that the 3 of them are going to come in individually and tell them the story of what they did last night. But one of them is lying, and if they can pick which of the 3 of them is lying, the group earns $20,000 for the pot. If they pick incorrectly, they'll all get an exemption from the next quiz. And by them, I mean Avery, Jacob, and Joy. Which would mean Greg, Kossie, and Will would have a 3-way fight in the quiz, and that's a little spooky.
That's very spooky.
I mean, we saw what happened to Samara with the 5 people after the Red Button mission.
Yep.
And that was 5. This was 3.
Oh no, I think it was 6 with Samara.
Oh wait, which group had 6? It might have been 6 for them.
Yeah,
I can't remember which group had the extra.
The group that Samara was in was a group of 6.
Okay, so yeah, they have the extra then. But yeah, so the group, they each come in individually, one at a time, and tell the story of the night that they just went through. Jacob goes first. His story was a bit odd if I remember correctly. And I'll be real, out of the three of them, this is the story I remember the least.
Yeah.
Because Joy and Avery's stories got such a long time in the episode. They got like 5 or 6 minutes each. And then Jacob is just like a 3-minute like blurb of nothing almost.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah,
go
I
ahead.
also noticed throughout, like, especially within like the second half, um, Jacob has this like cringe face or whatever,
Yeah.
and we get to see a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just say it, like, sorry, no, actually, no, I'm not gonna say it yet. But so Jacob says what he went to. He went into like a dark room or so,
Mm-hmm.
and he saw this table, and there were like 3 cloches.
Mm-hmm. And that was about it. And like it was a very odd story.
Yeah, like he talks about like eating a grub.
Mm-hmm. You had to
And
eat bugs and stuff.
yeah,
And they didn't tell them what these unique experiences would be,
no.
but you know, uh and then Greg and Cassie and Will are all allowed to ask questions for more details. And Greg is just going through these questions. Like he is mowing people down the entire mission. It's very entertaining.
No,
Cassie's
this is
oh god.
actually like one of the times I also like enjoy Will,
Mm-hmm.
because he's actually like, because I noticed he was dead on. He was like staring them dead in the eyes,
Mm-hmm.
looking for almost anything
Yeah.
in case they slip up.
So they finished questioning Jacob. They're a little suspicious of Jacob after his story. And then I'm pretty sure Joy was next, or was Avery next? I think Joy was next. Joy comes into the room and she's stone faced. And we know this lady can lie very well from the bomb mission,
Yep.
the bomb on the table at the dinner. We know she can lie. But she comes in, she says, yeah, I sat down in a chair and a snake crawled all over my body.
Yep.
Oh, and she said up into her hair, all around her neck, her chest, like her whole body was covered by the snake. They just, they keep asking Joy questions, and they're like, "Oh, well, what color was the snake?
Where was like how was the snake oriented?
Mm-hmm.
Where was the head at?
Yeah, and the tail, like which hand was each side on?" And Joy clarifies they try to trip her up with the position of the snake at one point, like you mentioned, but she clears it up really well. She did a really good job of presenting herself.
Oh, she did a great job.
I
Whether
mean,
she
it's
was
kind of
telling the
plausible.
truth or lying, she still did a great job.
Yeah. And after Joy, Avery comes in, and she said that she walked on hot coals, which is something you've probably heard people doing before. I've never done it. It sounds spooky, and I would hate it.
I've kind of always wanted to do it.
I could never. And they asked Avery if she did it with like shoes on or if she was barefoot. She said she was barefoot. And then Greg had the most cringy moment of this entire mission. And he looks at Avery. He says, "Okay, well, did you burn your feet?" And she said, "No, I didn't." And he said, "Okay, can we see your feet then?" And
She's
it
like,
was
why
just,
would I show you my feet?
yeah,
I'm
it
not
was
going to show
just,
you my feet.
it was so cringe. And Greg is openly gay, so we don't have to worry about him being like pervy here, but it's still
No.
just really cringe. Um, but so after this, the group seems to be split. Um, Will is pretty dead set on Jacob. Cassie seems pretty dead set on Avery. So they kind of leave it up to Greg to choose between the two of them. And the group ends up thinking that Jacob is the one that was lying. And then Alex brings everybody back into the room, asks everybody what they did last night. And Jacob says, "Yeah, I was led into a hotel room and did absolutely nothing." So they correctly guessed that Jacob was the liar. Avery actually did walk on hot coals. Joy actually had a snake crawl all over her. And they earn $20,000 for the group, which at this point, that's a big amount of money for them. They're at $69,500.
Out of a
And more
possible,
importantly for them, nobody got the exemption, which
yeah.
huge.
Out of a possible, how much? Because I know you're very keen on that as well.
$193,000 at this point is how much they could have earned.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, grand scheme, they could have had a little bit more, a little bit less, just based off of like, if they earned the max amount of money on every single mission. So like, if they would have ordered all 18K from the mailed mission, all 20 from the bank heist, which we all know that was not possible. But yeah, so they all figured out that Jacob was lying and got that money. So what I was mentioning though is Avery talked about the behind the scenes of this mission, and it turns out her and Joy would not have gotten that exemption had they picked the wrong person. Jacob was the only person offered the exemption. So I was kind of stunned. I was like, that seems a little unfair. But
then again, like, they did say a shot at exemption. Like, there's a chance you would get an exemption. But it also, I agree, is kind of unfair as well.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for Avery and Joy.
Yeah. I mean, if you look through the missions before this, up until this point, you had the first time they offered an exemption was the red button mission. And that was literally whichever team gets it done first, the whole team gets it. And then you had the chain mission, and it was based on who the group decided to go first, pretty much. And then you had Joy bidding on it, which that was offered to anybody who didn't look at the dossier case folder or whatever things on the players. And at that point, anybody who had been offered an exemption, you had to at least earn the opportunity, right? Mm-hmm. And it was equally given out to everybody. Anybody could have bid more money than Joy. Anybody could have fought harder to be the first person unlocked from the chain, other than Cassie. Anybody could have scavenged for that red button clue before anybody else. It was never directly this person. Yeah. But here, yes, they did have to guess the right painting. So to a degree, I can kind of see that. But Avery and Joy didn't even have a shot at the exemption. So it does seem a little slanted.
It does.
Mm-hmm. But after this mission comes what I feel like is probably the most single iconic moment from this entire season of The Mole. So we're at dinner. Alex has revealed that there will be a quiz after dinner. Everybody's in their, nice little dinner outfits. And Alex asked the group if there's anyone who wants to say anything, anybody want to get anything out into the open. And then the queen of good TV, Joy herself.
Joy Schweitzer.
What a goddess, the pilot herself, looks at Jacob and accuses him of being the mole. And at first you're like, oh, okay, I can see where you're going with this. We'll hear you out. And she says that Jacob has been contributing nothing to the pot, that he's basically rans this guy a new one. And then she ends it with saying, and I quote here, "I believe you're the shithole mole." It was so good. And you just cut to like Greg as that like oaf is that.
Yup. Like, yeah. No, I was gonna say that too. I was like, Greg's face.
I mean, you know what I'm talking about. It's like the gay of like the.
Oh yeah.
That face, that one right there.
Oh yeah.
And it was just so good. And the ironic part about it is everybody else stays quiet. Nobody else brings up their suspicions. Joy's just out throwing accusations around. But the line of "you're the shithole mole" has
iconic. I'm sorry. Joy ate that.
Well, she ate this entire season, but this specific moment I feel like is already enshrined itself into Netflix reality history. Like up there with some of the stuff from The Circle, with like the Spice Girls showing up on The Circle, and just the entirety that is the first season of Love Is Blind. Like all of these like specific moments just popping in there. This is already probably the one that's going to happen from them all. Like, this is the moment of the show. And Joy, if you are listening to this, we just want to remind you that we at the Cup here are massive stands, and please grace our screens again at some point. Please. Please.
Oh,
So
God.
that's the end of episode 7.
Yep.
And we move into episode 8 with a quiz, as we alluded to moments ago. And in that quiz, nobody's safe. Everybody's up for elimination here. And this is when Joy reveals her master plan. She has put suspicion on Jacob because she does not think Jacob is the mole, and she wants people to guess Jacob and get out. And I'm like, not only is that brilliant, but you also gave us great TV in the process. So what a goddess. And it kind of worked because Joy did not go home.
Joy did not go home. But you know who did go home?
Tell us.
It is our triangle god,
Greg. I was really sad to see Greg go.
I was really sad to see Greg go as well.
I like Greg a lot. And I know Greg was annoying and a little cringy sometimes, but I think that's part of what makes somebody a good reality show contestant is that they aren't afraid to just be themselves and be a character within themselves. And like we brought it up earlier when talking about Casey, but like the whole Debbie Wayner of it all, like Greg was just freely himself, freely playing the game, openly being suspicious, openly like trying to further himself in the game over the cost of everybody else. And we need that game bot sometimes. But also Greg was providing personality, providing fun moments.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, it is getting late in the game, so we are gonna have to lose people. But why did we have to lose Greg instead of Furniture Jacob or High and Tidy Mr. Will? Like, I would have preferred to lose either of them over Greg at this point.
I would too. But it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Very sad to see Greg go. But final 5.
Yep, final 5. At this point, we have Avery, Joy, Kossie, Will, and Jacob are left. This is a very strong group of people. Like, this is a very strong group of contestants. I mean, we know. Well, T.
So, one of them is strong. The other one is strong physically. You know.
Yeah. 4 of them are strong players, and one of them is a strong mole. So
yes.
Yes. So yeah, we head into the next mission, and this mission's weird, but I kind of love it.
I actually thought this was super entertaining.
It was really entertaining, but it was also just completely random and wacky. Like, this is the kind of stuff that like newer reality show, like seasons of older shows are missing. Like, part of the reason we love Survivor is because the older seasons of Survivor is because they used to do this like random wacky kind of like challenges or rewards or things like that.
Yeah.
And Big Brother is the same way. Like, Pandora's Box was almost never anything that had serious game implications. Like, I vividly remember Rachel opening Pandora's Box and getting like that whole thing with Mr. Spectacular. Like, that kind of wackiness.
I feel like really the only like quote unquote game changer with Pandora's Box was when Brendan opened it and like, you know, he ended up at the jury house and then Rachel came into the
there's that, and then there's the duos twist.
Oh, the duos twist, yeah. You're right.
Because Shelly got robbed. But other than that, nobody ever. Oh, and then Matt with the Diamond Power Veto. But like, for the amount of times Pandora's Box showed up, it was a lot of just fun stuff more than like game stuff a lot of the time. This is the kind of fun that I feel like a newer show is missing, and they're focusing on the game with all these advantages and twists and all that. And I can deal with a twist every now and then, but this was more fun, and I was here for the fun.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Oh, no, you can go.
Okay. So the group is told that they need to pick the person who they believe is the most observant out of the 5 of them. There's a little bit of debate as to who they are going to choose, but it's pretty quickly that they settle on Avery. So Avery is taken away and locked in a cage. Also, they're in Sydney, by the way. This will become important. Only reason I bring it up.
I think they spend the rest of the season in Sydney.
Yes, they do. I'm possibly not the next mission. They're not in Sydney.
Oh,
The
wait, yeah.
mountains. Yeah. So they're in Sydney, and Avery gets taken away and put inside this like wire fence cage kind of thing. And the other four are then separated into two groups. So you have the guys, which is Jacob and Will, and the girls, which is Joy and Cassie. And they get taken to two spots. So do we want to focus on one group than the other, or just kind of weave in between the two?
Let's do like each group.
Okay, so we need Joy and Cassie because they're easier to cover.
Yes.
So Joy and Cassie start on top of this building in called the Shipley Tower on the top of this big observation deck, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also to mention, both groups are trying to find Avery before the time is up, which that's important. If they do, they get $10,000 for the pot.
Yeah, they both need to open. They both have a key to open Avery's cage.
Yeah, and there are two locks, and they need both keys to open both locks. And Avery has a couple things in her cell, but those will become more relevant later. The most important thing, though, is she has a cell phone, and she can call both groups to like talk to them and help them out. So Joy and Cassie are asking Avery if she sees anything, and Avery says that there's a big hole above her, like in the ceiling, and she looks up and notices, oh, there's a bunch of birds just flying in a circle around the roof of this building. And Joy and Cassie are looking around on the top of this observation deck, and it's a little hard for them to figure out at first, but Joy spots these birds in this park. And Cassie was struggling. it was kind of bad. Because Joy talked about it later too. Cassie did not help Joy here
at all.
Yeah. Joy's just kind of like looking around, panning, and she's like, oh, there's the pigeons. I see the pigeons. We're gonna head over there now. And also to be clear, the pigeons are not above Avery. Avery just has something to like indicate to them that there's a bunch of pigeons that are like circling somewhere in this park. Yeah. So Joy tries to railroad Cassie to this park. Cassie's like, I don't see the birds. What are you talking about?
And she has the binoculars too.
Yeah, they're having these binoculars. Remember, they're on this observation deck, and they're just. Joy is trying her best here. She really is.
She really is.
But eventually, Joy makes Cassie find the birds, and they go down to this park where the birds are circling, and they find a guy who apparently is a guy that keeps homing pigeons. And there are 3 pigeons that they can choose from. All of them have a tracker connected to an app on the phone that they're using. And the bird's going to fly to a location, and they follow the bird. And hopefully, and one of those locations is going to be where Avery's located. Which then they'll be able to unlock the lock and all that. Yeah. Here's the kicker, though. They have to pick the right bird. It's not like they can follow all 3 birds at different times. They have to follow one bird. And if they pick the wrong bird, they automatically lose the mission because they can't go release the other 2 birds, apparently. What did you think about that? Because I thought that was really like neat twist to this.
I found that one really interesting. I guess like just seeing them execute it was a bit hard to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But just that part of it, in general, like I actually really like. In terms of like TV, obviously as a player, I wouldn't. that would be like very anxiety inducing kind of. But I don't know. I would love to be in like Avery's position.
Yeah.
Like if I were to do this, I would totally be in the cage.
Mm-hmm. I would prefer to be in the cage, absolutely. Because I feel like you have less pressure in the cage than you do, like looking at the birds or. We'll go to Jacob and Will in a minute. But she had a little bit more to do, but I don't think she had a lot of pressure riding on her because all she had to do was just tell people what to do.
Yeah. Luckily, they have a little clue on Avery has a kind of a bit of a clue for them to pick the right pigeon, because she just so happens to have an article.
Yeah, it's like a
A
newspaper
newspaper
article.
article with a picture of a pigeon on it.
Mm-hmm. And she's to be clear, she's also in like a pigeon coop
Yeah.
kind of thing. And it's they tell us that in the episode, but and she looks at this little newspaper article, and it has a picture of one of the pigeons on it, which she describes to Joy and Cassie. Joy and Cassie are then debating between two birds as to which of these two birds is the bird that Avery just described. This goes on for about 2 or 3 minutes. They're just going back and forth between these two birds. Finally, Joy's like, look, if we're wrong, you can tell everybody that I'm the reason that we were wrong and not you. And Cassie seems to like agree to that. So they release this bird, and then they start trailing it on this phone app, trying to follow it. We'll come back to them in a minute. So, what in the process who between the two of them, who did you think was right, Joy or Cassie?
Ooh, I would say Joy.
Yeah, in the moment, I think Joy was more concrete in her answer.
Oh yeah.
And Cassie was kind of like, I don't know. What about this bird? And Joy just kept going like,
yeah.
no,
Because it was
this
just like
bird.
I just feel like I just feel like it's this bird, and it's just an instinct kind of thing.
Yeah, because the thing is, the picture Avery described the bird very well from the
Avery
picture.
did this.
Yeah,
yeah.
And there was a name for the bird too. I don't remember the name of the bird.
Jimmy,
Jimbles, something like that.
Really?
And Joy called the bird by its name, and she's like, "Look at the flutter." It like fluttered its wings a little bit, and she's like, "This is the bird. Like this is obviously the bird." And Cassie's just like, "No, I don't think so, Joy." But regardless, they release the bird and they start tracking the bird. Jacob and Will, on the other hand, they're lucky if they get to track anything, because most of this mission they are in a pizza place, just vibing.
Yeah.
So they are chilling at this pizza place. They call Avery. Avery's like, I have a pizza box in the chicken coop for a restaurant called Bill and Tony's, which is the same restaurant that Jacob and Will are at. They're just trying to figure out what to do. And then Jacob's like asking if they can see the orders that are in place, or if they need to deliver an order to Avery's location. And nothing they're trying is working. Finally,
they I don't think they were allowed to like give them any hope.
Yeah.
Unless they told them to do something.
Yeah. And Avery's also not being very helpful to them either. I'll be real. She's kind of just like, well, they start asking her questions. She's like, let me call the girls back. And then she hangs up on them and goes to talk to Joy and Cassie again. And it was great.
It was great.
Finally, though, Jacob asked to see a pizza box. Like one of Bill and Tony's pizza boxes. And he's like, oh, there's a phone number on the box, right? Avery, you call this number and you order something, and then we'll follow you out, right? And Will has a very good confessional moment here as well, where he says, and I quote, Jacob had a good idea for the first time in ever.
Yep.
And, I will talk a lot of crap about Will, but he's right about one thing. Jacob was furniture for a lot of the season.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But the group, so they tell Avery to look at this, and Avery's looking at the pizza box in her room, and she's like, there's no phone number on the box. What are you talking about? And I'm like, really? Really?
Ooh, yeah. No, that's definitely on her. And I'm sure, like, I feel like that would be something that would happen to me as well if I didn't crack under the pressure.
Yeah. Again, I'll talk about this in a little bit, but Avery talked about this mission in that same behind the scenes video she did on her YouTube, and her reasoning as to why she did not see the phone number on the box, I thought was very funny. But finally, Avery sees the phone number on the pizza box, calls the pizza in, and they send the order out with a guy on like a little scooter moped kind of thing.
Yep.
And then Jacob and Will go to follow him, and then 6 more mopeds just appear.
That part I found so like sick. I was like, that is sick and twisted.
Okay, for me, I don't know if you've ever, I don't know how much of a gamer you are, but it felt very much like shell game kind of situation where they just add like 9 cups to muddy the ball.
You got to keep your eye on the one.
Yeah. And they do a good job of it. They follow the right moped.
For the most part.
Well, okay, Will does a good job of it. Jacob is a little confused, as usual.
Yeah.
But they follow the pizza guy, and they're going. And we then cut to Avery. Joy and Cassie get to the cage pretty early. I think they had about 3 or 4 minutes left. They undo the lock on Avery's cage from their key. So Joy and Cassie do their part. They're completely done. Mm-hmm. Jacob and Will, on the other hand, get there just a little bit late, and they lose out on the $10K for the pot. So the pot stays at $69,500. And then all of the blame goes on Avery. Both of the guys trash her pretty hard here.
Yeah.
Talking about how she didn't see the phone number on the box.
But, you know,
they're kind of right is the bad part, because they did what they were supposed to do. They waited on her to call the number because it was about 20 minutes after they told her to call before she finally called the number. And, you know, Joy and Cassie did get there in time, but you have to wonder if she would have called that number earlier, if they would have made it in time to get that 10K in the pot.
I think they would have.
They probably would have. The only thing I could say maybe they wouldn't have is if Joy and Cassie had less time to pick the bird. But even then, I don't know how long it would have taken her to order a pizza.
Yeah. Well, I feel like Joy and Cassie were, or Joy for the most part, was fun. Like they were perfectly fine. It was just more so on Will and Jacob's part.
Yeah. So in that behind the scenes video, Avery said, "Look, they gave me this phone. And they said, if you want to contact group 1, you have 2 buttons, okay? One of these buttons calls group 1, the other button calls group 2. That's what they told her. They did not tell her that she could use the phone to call other people. So she was under the assumption that she couldn't use the phone number to call the pizza place. So she saw the number on the box, but she just didn't think she was allowed to call the pizza place. So she had to wait for a producer to tell her that she could call the pizza place before she called the pizza place, because they didn't tell her that beforehand.
Yeah. And we're going to stop you right there because we do have someone else coming in.
The icon, the moment.
The icon that's in the moment. Zoe.
Hello. Hold on. I'm going to mute my TV in a second. I'm so sorry. I lost my remote.
I call the moment. Truly a legend.
I'm always entering with chaos.
So we're talking about episode 8 right now. We just finished talking about the birdcage mission.
Okay, before we go any further, do you have any comments about the the art mission, the shithole mole fiasco, or Greg's elimination before we move past this particular topic?
Casey's elimination in that matter.
Oh, and Casey as well.
Yeah. Well, the art mission, I felt like the art mission was a little kind of genuine, like when they were like looking at the pictures, just because like I don't too much know about art. So I would have definitely been like, okay, well, like it's a new scene, new graphics. Will, like looking at how Will was managing, you know, like trying to make his decisions, and also following I forgot the firefighter's name, but also following Jacob. Also following Jacob as well too. Like I don't know, Jacob at that point, like I feel like at that point you could kind of realize like he was just dumb. Like he's just not like not dumb, but I feel like I don't think he really knew what was going on. Like, I don't think he really knew, like, what was going on for real. But the art picture thing, like, I feel like that was a good challenge because that you could genuinely, like, mess up if you were the mole. And, like, it wouldn't be kind of, no one would really catch on like that, so to speak, if that would make sense. Because, like, easily be like I could easily like if I was in the mall, I could easily like pick one that I kind of deliberately knew it wasn't it, and like have a stance behind there, or back it up, or whatever case may be. But I'm a good guesser too, so that would fuck.
Mhm.
Mm.
But and then like with the Greg elimination, first at Greg and Casey. Casey, I wasn't shocked by that just because like I kind of like I didn't think she would make it to the end, but a part of me thought she was the mole, so I was just like, thinking like, okay, like maybe maybe she's just playing like a real good game, but to know that she got eliminated and like like she got eliminated and then like you're not oh, so you playing the game for her. Like, she played a great game. Like I feel like her and Greg played an amazing game. Like Greg was the shocker for me. Like
Mhm.
I was about to cry a little bit because when Greg left, like I feel like I'd rather had Greg stay before Casey, but even then, they both left anyways. But
Mhm.
Greg's leaving was a shocker for me because I just I wasn't expecting that at all. But then with Casey, I was just like I really wasn't expecting to see Casey at the end. If she wasn't the mall, I wasn't expecting to see Casey at the end. To be honest, like I feel like she would have like there was gonna be a slip up at some point, but
Hmm.
you know.
I honestly thought coming into the second batch of episodes that the final two were going to be Pranav and Avery,
Yeah,
and Greg were going to be the final three. And
yeah.
I thought Avery was going to end up being the mole and that Pranav would win and Greg would get second. And the fact that
No,
Pranav's out now, Greg's out now, like,
that hurt my
yeah, yeah, it was complete open season. And
feelings.
okay, but to be clear, I want to ask though, how do you feel about Joy calling out Jacob before the quiz?
A guy. Like when I tell you, I sat there and I was like, "Oh my gosh, like Joy, like why are we doing this?" But
Mother.
literally, she ate that up. But like to be honest with you, it's so like from watching like Big Brother and watching like all these other like reality shows and where you have to have these like votings and have to have these sit downs and where you have to vote for somebody. It's so interesting with a mole, like how different everything has to be. Like you can accuse somebody and like kind of divert everyone's attention from you or whatever the case may be and like mess everyone up. Like you can deliberately do that. So when Joy did that, it kind of caught me off guard because I was like, damn, like Joy, like I don't think we should do this right now. But I'm like, well, when they got her into her confessional, I was like, okay, well, that does make sense because technically you're supposed to get the wrong answers on the quiz. So I'm like, okay, well that does make sense. If you accuse Jacob, like either if they were to vote you, Joy or Jacob as the mole, it wouldn't matter because it's them getting out before you. So I kind of Joy's gameplay throughout the whole season, even though like she frustrated me bad, her
Mhm.
whole gameplay this whole season, she earned the final spot. Like she earned her final spot. Like she
We'll
Oh,
talk about that
absolutely.
later, Zoe. We're not
like,
there
no, but like she
yet.
like from the beginning of the season to this point, she has ate. Like her strategy, her gameplay, like even like watching from home, you wouldn't like you don't even know. Like she's always 2 steps ahead, even for the viewers. Like you think you know, but then she does something, and it's just like, oh, okay.
Mhm.
Like, no, I guess not. I guess not.
But so like we mentioned though, we had the pizza pigeon mission. We just talked about the results of the pizza pigeon mission. How did you feel about the pizza pigeon mission, Zoe?
The pigeon. Okay, that one I don't remember too much. Too much. So you have to like kind of like rerun
Mhm.
it back for me a little bit because like
Uh, Joy and Cassie were on top of the building. They saw the circling homing pigeons. Well, Joy saw the circling homing
oh
pigeons.
yes. Okay, I remember now.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember. The first off, y'all already know how I feel about Casey. Yeah, Cassie.
Mhm.
Y'all know how I feel about her. Cause like at this point, she been getting on my nerves too. Like she's been getting on my nerves bad.
She is, but I also found it like super entertaining. It was like
Lit-
I love it for the chaos, but I'm like, damn, you're
Well,
seeing so
okay.
much
I
chaos.
know if I was on that cast, I would have been irritated by how poorly a lot of people were performing in challenges, like consistently, because outside of Casey, who literally did not have a single challenge where she did terrible the entire time she was there, outside of maybe climbing across that little rope at the end of the mountain mission. She did really well the entire time. Everybody else was bombing, and maybe Avery too. She didn't really do terrible other than the run in the mail mission. Every other player on this cast was doing awful all the time. And if I was not the mole, I would have been so frustrated by that. I would have been angry. Because Joy can't read a map. Greg can't swim. Will claims to be doing a lot, but he is doing absolutely nothing. Jacob is dumber than a bag of hammers, to quote Survivor Nicaragua. Like, all of these people are just doing absolutely nothing to contribute to the plot, and yet they're somehow making money. That's the real thing.
Like, literally, if you think about it, you watch those seasons, like, how the fuck did y'all even earn money? Like,
really?
Like, what are you really? Like, you're all the mole. Like, to me, everyone's the mole in here. Like, but, like, with that situation with Casey, I was like, first off, pairing Casey and Joy together, first off, or y'all know who I'm saying. But first off, pairing both of them, the both people that irritated me the most, even though they both played a great game, the both people that irritated me the most with their gameplay, putting them both together, it's like, how y'all gonna trip over yourselves? Like, because that's what y'all be doing in every little game. So with Casey, when she was like, with the whole pigeon situation, that was like literally, I felt Joy's aggravation. Like, I felt Joy's aggravation with that, because I was like, girl, are you serious? Like, be so for real. It was like, at certain points with Casey, my problem was that it was like, you're trying to not earn money at the wrong time. Like, at the wrong time. Like, this is like, if I were the mole, for me personally, there's like, I have to come in with a strategy, and there's this, like, if I have a way to not earn the money, I'm gonna do it. But I'm not gonna make it look obvious. Like, I'm not gonna say, not even just obvious, but I'm not gonna do it at incorrect points. And I just feel like, when you're in a duo and you're trying to, like, and you have to get, like, if I were the mole, I would try not to money when I'm in big groups, not like when I'm like by myself with an individual, just because I need that person to get the wrong answer on the quiz. So I'm gonna make it seem like I'm trying to earn money. Like, I'm gonna try to reverse psychology it. Now, I feel like wasn't with Kazi, like, or whatever, you know who I'm talking about, but she wasn't just trying to do that. Like, she wasn't doing that. She was like deliberately, like, every single mission that she has been in since this point, not trying to earn money. Like, especially, like, I know we talked about it last Sunday, but that bank heist, like, you're a code, like, anyways, like, ever since then, it's just like, like, at this point, like, you're deliberately doing things like it's not making sense. Like, it's just not, it's making sense, but it's just not making sense. Like, that was just the wrong point. So that, with the pitching situation and that little mission, that was already kind of getting on my nerves. Everyone else, like, I know, like, anyone who watches the mole, kind of, like, at that point was starting to realize a couple of things, but I'm not gonna say too much. But with everyone else, like, mission, I just feel like, you know, normal them, like, that's what they do, like, the same thing. But Casey, Kazi, she definitely irritated me with that little pigeon situation. Like,
because it's one thing to like the train mission, right, where she dropped the bag on the train. That's an honest mistake. You know, you could attribute that to, like, okay, that's a mistake. You don't see the large flock of birds circling in the park through a set of binoculars. Like, come on. Like, be real.
Through a set of binoculars while Joy is yelling at you, saying she can see them.
That's my thing. That's literally my thing, because at that point, we would have had to cut the cameras, because I would have been like, please be for real. Like, I would have been like, if you're the mole or not, please be fucking for real. Like, you know, I'm like, bitch, don't tell me my eyesight. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cuss, but don't tell me my eyesight is tripping. Like, I just came from the eye doctor just last week.
The math was not mathing. That's the whole point. The math was not mathing.
It wasn't mathing. Like, it wasn't. At this point, am I delusional?
I felt delusional watching it, honestly.
I felt so delusional.
There was no logic. That was so irritating. Anyways, y'all, that was just really, that was a tough scene to watch. Like, I will tell you, like, I watched it, but it was just so hard for me not to, like, yell at the screen. Like, are you, like, I see it. Like, I'm sorry, y'all. Anyways, that just Casey just put she do something to me like.
So then we get to the dinner,
Mm-hmm.
and Joy apologizes to Jacob,
Yes.
but then
Somebody else. Accusing somebody else. Crazy. Joy
yeah,
is she's shaking the table up, but Joy is shaking the table up as she should though. Like Joy, like everyone was saying, because I think we were all saying it on Twitter and stuff like that. I'm not on Twitter like that no more, but we were all saying it, and it was like with Avery was trying to like do what Joy was doing, was trying to like follow her, like not like deliberately, but like subconsciously was like doing the same thing that Joy was doing, but Avery just Joy was just doing it better. Like Joy was just really doing it better, and like even though Avery was causing chaos, it was like she was kind of giving she was kind of giving how Kazi is right now. Like like it's just an aggravating chaos. It's like it's not a smart chaos. Like with Joy, she did at the correct moment. She thought about it. Like it was well executed. The table shaker with her arguing with Jacob ate that. Now you apologize and accusing somebody else. It's like, damn, like you really don't care.
I'll
Like,
be honest. I did not think she should have done it the second time. I think the
yeah.
first time she ate. She ate it up. She got Greg out of the game. It was great. Amazing TV too. Like all that mess. Doing it the second time makes it look like a play. Like makes it look like a ploy.
but even
And
I was gonna say, like, even if you think about it, like it's a ploy. Like, if I were to apologize after I just shook up the table the other day and I'm like, I apologize to you, Jacob, but then accuse somebody else or like just start some more shit, it's like at that I know I'm not the mom. So like if you gonna vote for me, like I know someone else is gonna like try to be like, oh, well, I'm gonna vote for her because obviously she's doing this on purpose. You know what I mean? So it just flips the reverse psychology, because before people were like, oh wait, maybe it is Jacob and she's really calling him out, and then the second time she did it, it's like, oh, she's apologizing to Jacob and then kind of started some more shit. It's like maybe she is the most trying, but not being good at it. You know what I mean? So that's how
yeah.
I looked at it for me.
So Avery talked about a couple things because she released a behind the scenes video. I mentioned it before you got on, Zoe, a couple times. And she mentioned that when Joy did it the second time, she was not suspicious of the first time. She wasn't even. She was still suspicious of Jacob because of the bank heist mission and a couple other things. She said she was a little bit suspicious of Jacob,
Yeah.
but she ended up becoming more suspicious of literally no one the second time, because by that point she had narrowed down her answers to about 2 people, and she had narrowed it down, she said, to Cassie and Will at that point, is what
Yeah.
Avery claimed.
That-
And when Joy did that, she was like, now I'm leaning a little bit more towards Will than I was Cassie, because I feel like Joy is just trying to sow chaos. And if Joy's saying, I think it's Cassie, because that's who she came after in this particular time, after, because she said she was missed the pigeons in the mission, and she almost caused them to pick the wrong homing pigeon too, that she was suspect of Cassie because of that. Avery was like, yeah, that's fishy, but the fact that you think it's fishy means that I don't trust you either. So I'm going to move my focus a little bit off of you and focus on the other 2 a little bit more, because I think you're just trying to get people out. So Avery read her well. And I think that's also been Avery's biggest strength in the game, is that she has been able to read the other players and how they are going to react to things very well. And I mean, honestly, everybody left in the game at this point had a strength that they were bringing that made them get that far. Will's biggest strength was not putting money in the pot. Will was able to just get people to do what he wanted all the time, like throughout the season. Cassie controlled her perception so well. Everybody still, even if she wasn't doing well in the missions, she made people think that she was not doing the worst in the missions, and that was a big part of it. Joy was just sowing chaos the entire time and making sure everybody was like on their toes and trying to pull things. And then Jacob was furniture and somehow made it to the final 5. But hey, Zoe's face.
We do love ourselves and I guess under the radar player.
Right.
Do we?
It's either under the radar or invisible on I would say on Edgic.
Right, like for me,
Bitch
like
got invis for the first half of the season. Let's be real.
I don't know. For me, I feel like Will had a better read than Avery. Like for me personally, I felt like watching the season. I felt like Will, even though he wasn't putting no money, I don't know what the hell he had going on. He had a better read on everyone in that room, and I felt like sometimes like he wasn't like when they tried to restrict him from being able to like, like for the mountain mission, and when they like the mountain first off the mountain mission, that's just big example. But then I think there's a couple other missions where they wasn't really trying to allow him to get that leader role. Like I think that would have gave Will a more clue in on like who was displacing, because I feel like everyone kind of knew that Will was reading everyone in the room like pretty good. And I think that's where like everyone else kind of like did good in their part, or like the people who did speak up, like it did good in their part. And like well Avery, because on the mountain Avery was the one who spoke up and like was like nah maybe you should stay back. I feel like that's like on their part as a player playing the game, that's good, because restricting Will and pushing him back to being and not being able to really hear more discussions with the other players and really kind of read out the room, that was a good move. Like with Avery, I feel like she was reading people, but I feel like she wasn't really like reading the room. Like with Jacob, I would have been kind of like I don't think Jacob's the mole, but I think Jacob's just kind of dumb. Like I don't think he's dumb. Like I don't want to say that, but I just think he has a bunch of blonde moments, and so like
Not the blonde moments.
really like the blonde moments, and like that would have been me in my head. Like I would have just been clock that, but I feel like again, like with Kazi, like she did. I agree with you. Like her precipitation, like how she had the control in the room, how people looked at her, was definitely something that I kind of admire, because she definitely like for me. No one could convince me that you're not, like, no one could convince me. You can't even convince me that, you ain't acting funny. But with everyone in the game, I guess it's different, because when you're in the game and you're in that moment, you're like kind of like, oh, it could be anybody. It's just like, you're not gonna like, even though you think you have an inkling that it might be someone, it's like you can't like it might not be that. You know what I mean? So like for her to have that control and be able to divert everyone from looking at her and kind of like looking at everyone else, and hers being able to stay quiet at the appropriate moments, is something that I do applaud with Kazi. But Joy was definitely starting in a ruckus, and I did love that about Joy. Like I said, she irritates me, but she did what the fuck she needed to do, like from beginning episode to now. But that was the episode that that Casey left, because she obviously, listened to Joy. Maybe
No, Greg left after the Joy blow up. Casey left before.
Casey left at the
Casey left after the mountain mission, I think, and
Yeah.
then it was the art mission, then the Jacob blow up by Joy, then Greg left.
Okay, so yeah, Greg was the one who like thought it was like that was the guy, and so like yeah, no.
I just thought Greg was a smarter player than that. I think that's part of the reason why Greg leaving left a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth, because Greg just seems so intelligent and so knowledgeable about how to play the game. And I feel like a lot of other people just weren't in that same caliber that were left. But I mean, maybe that's just me.
No, I I agree. Like if it was Greg and Joy, I think those are my top two.
Mhm.
That I would care. Greg, Joy, and Casey, because Casey actually did really good.
Mhm.
Those I feel like did like play the game, but everyone. I just felt like maybe it could have been better like players that could have been entered in, because like you said, Greg is just a very smart player, and I feel like Joy is too. And I feel like Joy brought the appropriate chaos. I feel like Casey brought that balance of like, I'm just a sweet da da da, but I'm not gonna like, you know what I mean. I feel like she was very strategic as well too, Casey. I always love Greg, because Greg, I just love Greg, but I feel like everyone on that show needs to go on Big Brother or something like that, because y'all was.
Can we get Joy Schweitzer on the challenge? ASAP?
Okay.
Please.
I feel like Kelsey would kill it on the challenge too.
Who?
Literally half this cast would be really well on the challenge, I think.
Yeah.
I think the only ones we don't want on the challenge are like Greg would be awful on the challenge.
Yeah, Greg would not eat the challenge. No, but it would be funny if Greg were to go on the challenge. I feel like we underestimate Greg, because there's a lot of players on the challenge that that you don't think is gonna eat, and they be kind of
no. But you know who in the mole we always underestimate? Sandy.
Oh wait, hold on. I don't have the marker because I'm out of town.
Oh my God, hold on. Let me show my purple. Oh well.
Throw up that purple because someone's
I-
got to beat me to it.
I got purple, but you know.
Sandy.
Okay, the
Yeah.
bristles on my toothbrush are purple. There we go. Purple
Yeah.
edit. There we go.
Yep.
My blood.
The purple edit herself.
So, all
Sandy.
that aside, we go back to the quiz.
So also before we talk about the quiz, one more thing though. Episode 8 was the last batch of episodes we got. So this is the last because they did the first 5 episodes,
That's true.
then they did the next 3 episodes, and then 9 and 10 were released together.
Yeah.
And at the end of episode 8, we find out that Cassie is safe, Will is safe, Avery is safe, and we're going into episode 9 now, where either Jacob or Joy is going home. Which can I ask? Did either one of you think for even the slightest second that Joy was going home here?
No.
No.
I feel like even if Joy was the one who got the most questions wrong or right or whatever, how you want to say it, I feel like the producers would have found a way to like keep Joy.
Okay. What they should have done here, if they were wanted to edit it, because the thing is, what we've been told, they don't show like when they showed the results on the quiz, they do it out of order on the show, right? What they should have done, if they really wanted to keep us like in suspense, they should have done Will and Jacob, because I feel like those were the only two that could have reasonably went home at this point, and I wouldn't have questioned the edit. Like, yeah,
I definitely agree, because I was like, at that point, we all knew where Joy was gonna make it to the end. Like, I feel like we all,
Yeah,
like the way Joy played her game and everything. I'm like, I knew Joy like gonna make it to the end.
Yeah. So, like, despite like Joy's name like still being thrown out, I don't know why, but Joy's name was still thrown out. Not surprisingly, Jacob's thrown out, and Avery's now back into the mix. Yeah,
but then
I knew Joy wasn't going anywhere. Like, yeah.
I mean, if Joy would have went home here, I would have really questioned the edit like a lot.
Oh, me too.
Because you know, on a show like Big Brother, you can kind of say, well, that changes week to week. The edit can be hard to do. I get that. They filmed this a year ago. Like, if the edit was that bad to the point where Joy went home here, I would have really questioned it. Because if we were in a situation like the predicted final 3 I had, which was Avery, Pranav, and Greg, right? I thought those were going to be the final 3. Avery's going to be the mole. Pranav and Greg were going to be the last 2. If Joy would have went home here then, I would have at least kind of understood it, but I just could not see a world where we have Cassie and Will still here and Jacob and Joy is gone. Like, I just, yeah. So, but it doesn't matter because she didn't go home. Who did go home, Sam DMV?
Well, who did go home was a table.
I think we are insulting tables here. This man is like a freaking leg on a chair. Like, providing moderate amounts of support, but if you cut off the one leg, you still have the other 3 that'll hold you up. Like that is this man.
Jacob was so sweet, and I like Jacob. Don't get me wrong, I like Jacob. He's so sweet. But I just personally, I was just like, Jacob, how did you last longer than a few players that got eliminated before you? Like
Greg, Pranav, like
Casey
at that. Like, that blew me, like that Jacob stayed. When Casey went home before Jacob for a small second, I was like, is Jacob home? Because like,
yeah.
Okay, low key, I thought Jacob could have been the mole for a while because
Me too.
There is no way that this man is legitimately as dumb as they are portraying him in this edit and is making it this far. It just didn't make any sense to me. But, you know, he wasn't, and he went home.
Yeah, unfortunately, very unfortunate. But yeah, that one really like, it's like I'm not mad that he made it as far as he did, because as you should, you did what you need to do. You obviously knew how to play the game, I guess. But it was definitely for a small second, I was like, damn, like he might be. But when he got eliminated, I wasn't shocked. Like I wasn't shocked. Like I was just like, like we knew it was gonna happen at some point. Like we knew you were gonna, like I think we all personally, all the viewers, I think they all kind of knew that Jacob was just not gonna make it to the end. Like either Jacob was the mole or he was just gonna get eliminated at some point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he just didn't get enough of an edit to me, honestly. But then we go to pretty much the last major mission before the final three. And I'll be real, I really did not enjoy a lot of this mission.
No,
No, because
not at all.
it just felt so anticlimactic. I think they were trying to make it feel like this big, grand, like kind of like a challenge final in a way.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I just did not get that from this mission at all.
Because literally all they are doing is climbing a mountain, and they have to look for
Frozen money inside of ice cubes.
I will say
huge ice cubes.
it wasn't that kind of made me not like the mission. It was just like, again, it was just Kazi like y'all, I want to cuss so bad. Like I want to cuss so bad because why did you take all of the money off the board? Like why? And then at that point, if Joy wasn't like. That's what kind of made me mad at Joy too, because I was like, Joy, please be so for real. Like Joy, be so for real right now. You are looking at that, like all these things are lining up, and you're not like
Okay,
blocking anything.
so I can't go into it yet. We have to talk about it next episode because we're covering episode 10 separately. But this episode, we're talking about it. Kosty said in your confessional, I am trying to look suspicious.
Yeah.
I want people to think I am this like player who is trying to bring suspicion onto myself and be so obvious.
But
And you have we should probably explain the mission first before we go into any more detail. So we had two teams. You had Joy and Kosty and Avery and Will, which also I find it really funny that Joy and Kosty are together in back-to-back missions like this. I feel kind of bad for Joy because Kosty's kind of been bad in both of those missions. But so
I think we also get something from Joy saying like, oh, this is also good for me. At least it could confirm that Kosty could be the mole.
Yeah.
And I think we also get something similar from Avery.
Yeah. So
we'll talk about that on next season. Why I feel like.
So they're climbing up this mountain, and there are these little beacons that they're going to find. Once they get to these beacons, they have a little tracker that they can use to find some ice blocks that are hidden. Also, this is like a really snowy mountain. We should probably mention that. They find these ice blocks with this like tracker, and they have this like sled. They call it a poke. I don't know if it's like an Australian thing or if I'm just dumb. But and they pull this mountain up to the top. They have 2 hours to get to the top. And each ice block is worth $2,000, I think is what it was. There are $5 for each team. So if they get all 10 blocks to the top, that's going to be $20,000 for the pot. And, at this point, they were still at 69,500 because they didn't finish the Pizza Pigeon mission. So they were really wanting this money, like badly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But so they start heading up the mountain. And Avery and Will seem like they're doing a pretty good job together. They're working well together. Will's pulling the sled because the one thing he can actually contribute is physical bulk, brawny strength, and he did a pretty good job providing that. And Avery's just, vibing and helping him as much as she can because Will won't let her do anything because Will's demanding and controlling.
I mean, wait, hold on, because we have seen Avery perform in these last missions as well, and Avery loves to. Oh, I'm tired. Oh, this. Oh, that. Oh, this. So
Handle it.
Yeah.
Okay. In the behind the scenes video that Avery was talking about, because I know I keep bringing it up, but it's the only outside of the edit that we have been gotten from anybody.
No, I actually like that you bring it up though.
Yeah. But she's the only person that's talked about her like full experience publicly without it being edited by anybody else. So this is the only person where I can really frame it. Avery mentioned that she is not an athlete. She doesn't work out. She doesn't do anything. The only thing she does is rock climb. That's it.
So,
right?
I
just that when I heard about that, because that was after we filmed last week when she released this video, I was so surprised that they kept on picking Avery for these physical things over Joy, because Joy literally works out.
I was just about to say before you keep going, because I was like, when the train mission, I was like, how in the hell did y'all pick Avery to run before Joy? Like, Joy got abs. Like, do you not see Joy? Like, Joy looks like
Joy's got a great body.
Literally,
Mm-hmm.
that
She's
was
40. Joy is 40 years old and looks like that, by the way.
Exactly.
Mom.
Right.
Logical thing for me. I was just like, at that moment right there, that moment, let alone right there, I was just like, why didn't you pick Joy to run? But when the mountain mission happened, I was fine with that pairing because if it was Avery and Kazi, like, let's be real, how far would they would have gone? You know? So I get that. But that moment right there with the running situation, I was just really shocked. Like I didn't understand that kind of logic for me. I didn't understand. And then you're gonna make Joy read another map again? Question mark? Like, are we really thinking about that? Like, okay.
So, again, Avery talked about this in her behind the scenes video. She said Joy's way that she was trying to consistently sabotage the group was getting herself in charge of navigation by reminding people that she's a pilot and then failing at that navigation every single time.
Literally.
And it worked. It worked for a long while.
For some odd reason. You got one time to show me you can't read a map. You got and then after that, I will never be paired with you again. Like you're not reading a map again. Like you have, if I was Will, you have one time. And then I'm like, as the leader of the group, no, she's not going. She's coming with me. Like that right there, you know how, because Will always try to play the macho in the group. So for me, I was just like, why didn't Will be like, oh no, Joy, you're gonna come with us? Like, why do you want, like, I understand why you want Avery to come, but why didn't you want Joy to come over Avery? Because Joy was causing a little more, even though Avery was being reckless with her chaos, Joy was really causing chaos from the beginning, like really from the beginning. So why didn't you bring Joy with you? That right there, I just feel like when you're watching the mole, you see a lot of decisions that they make, and you can kind of tell that they made a messed up decision. That even if you weren't in the game yourself, like you said, like you spoke before you thought about it, type situation. Like you were like, damn, like, you know what I mean? Like I don't know if I'm making sense, but like there were certain decisions that they made in the group that even in confessionals they said themselves like they didn't want to do that or they didn't want to do this, but like it's just certain decisions that you see and you're just like, yeah, like you really did mess up. Like you shouldn't have done that. Like I wouldn't have done that. Even if I was the mole or not. Like, you know what I mean? I wouldn't have done that personally, but you know.
So they're climbing the mountain. They're on two different sides of the mountain, by the way. So they're both climbing up separately from each other. Both groups find all of their ice blocks and they're on like really good progress. They're making really good pace, really good time. And then Kossie decides to screw everything up for her team, and Joy is the one pulling the sled up the mountain. All right, Kossie is just kind of behind her, like pushing, is what she says. Kossie then says, "I'm going to be very like pointed. I'm trying to make people think that I am causing sabotage." And she leans over onto the sled and grabs not one, not two, but 3 of these ice blocks and just yeets them off the back of the sled.
All of them, basically.
And Joy literally goes, "Kossie, what are you doing?"
No.
He wasn't even slick.
Right. I didn't realize until they was at the next step. When they were at the next step, like, and that's where kind of Joy had me kind of like, bitch, like, girl, like, you didn't realize that the sled was like kind of lightening it up just a little bit. Like, you didn't realize that. Like,
That's what I was thinking too.
I was thinking that too.
Like, what's going on? Like,
I mean, maybe she was just tired, which I can understand. It was a mountain climb.
No.
But
if I was tired, then I would have, and then I was going quicker, then I would have been like, I would, and even then, I would have still been looking back to make sure nothing fell off, because I'm not sitting here trying to like rely on my partner, even because my partner could be lying to me as well. I'm gonna always double check myself just to make sure I know that it's still, you know what I mean? But like, I just feel like in that situation, like, I don't know, Joy and, anyways, but I don't know, like, if that situation, if I was paired with Kazi again, knowing what happened in the pigeon situation, I would have told her to pull it. Right? I would just, like, I don't know. That don't make no sense. Girl, that's such.
I feel like we're gonna spend. I think we're gonna spend more of like this episode of episode 9 talking about Joy and Kazi, because Will and Avery killed it.
Yeah, they did fine. They did fine. They didn't like. They didn't. And Joy and Kazi got the more edit because like Will and Avery, Avery didn't do what she normally did. Like she was a little lazy, but like she said, she's not athletic like as a lot of people assume she is.
Mhm.
Like Will and Avery did a pretty much good job. Like they did an all right job, but it was just really Kazi like trying to make it obvious. But I was like, is this the right moment to make yourself look obvious? Like to make yourself, look like whatever. But I guess like to win the money though. You know what I mean? So the
Mhm.
Mhm.
have their own separate little thing if they win, I guess, or I don't know how that situation works too much. But like for me, where Kazi took off all the money off of the sleigh, like I wouldn't have necessarily done that. I feel like that's doing too much. And at that point, even if you're trying to make yourself look obvious, like taking all of the money out, girl, I would have pushed you down the mountain. Like I would have. I don't
I mean,
know.
hey, you can only roll so far. You'll find out eventually. But
Right.
so, and also I'd like to correct myself. It was not 3 blocks; it was just 2 blocks of ice that Kelsey took off the sled. But they keep going up the mountain. They get to the top. Avery and Will get up there first. Not really any surprise. I will give Will this. He is very physically fit, and he pulls that sled the entire way. Avery pushes it up the last little bit while Will's getting tired. But they get to the top. They have a lot of time left too. Joy and Kelsey are trudging their way up the hill. They get to the top, and Will goes, "We got all 5 of ours. How many do you have?" And Kelsey goes, 3. And Joy looks so angry.
Do you hear? Like I feel like me and Joy was on the same page. Like I will push this bitch down the.
I mean, I would have too.
Like push it down.
So they go back and forth. Will's like, "What happened?" Joy's like, "I don't know. We had all 5 of them." And then Kelsey does her best to try to make everyone suspicious of her. She's like, "They just fell off the back, and I just didn't have enough energy to grab them," or something like that. Something.
When she said that, I promise you, cut the cameras. Cut the cameras. Because what do you mean? I knew everybody. You saw everyone's face. Y'all saw everyone's face. Like everyone was literally thinking that. Like, cut the fucking cameras. Cut the cameras.
Literally.
Because
Literally.
like, what is really going on here? Like, you didn't want to go. You didn't feel like y'all already late. Joy and Kazi was already late, so you didn't feel the need to like. Because, like, obviously they were on a time limit, though. So let's just remind.
They had 2 hours to get all the way up to the top.
They were on a time limit, so that's understandable. But I don't know, like, I just feel like there could have been a better excuse. Like, you didn't feel like doing it. Girl, I will. Anyways, cut the cameras.
But long story short, for this particular mission, they got $16,000 into the pot, which pretty good amount out of the 20K they could have had.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to grand total in a second because we do have one more mission that happens. But
We do.
So I don't even know if this really counts as a mission as much as just, hey, how much money are you guys going to add to the pot? So they're about to take another quiz. And Alex is like, hey, so here are some briefcases. Each of these briefcases is worth a different amount of money. So one of them is worth $0. One of them is worth $1,000. One of them is worth $3,000, and one of them is worth $8,000. So after the next elimination, whoever's left, so each of them is going to get a briefcase, and whoever's left after the next elimination, the value of their briefcase is going to get added to the pot. So, for example, let's say I have the $3,000 briefcase and I'm eliminated, then it would be $9,000 getting added to the pot because the $0, $1,000, $8,000 briefcases are all still in the game. And I would have thought on a surface level, they would be arguing over who would have the $8,000. Like everyone would want that briefcase.
Yeah.
You then have people arguing over who's going to get the $0 briefcase more than the any of the other values, because they're like, oh, if I have that and I go home, at least I know that there's all that money's getting out of the pot anyway. I'm like, since when did all of you all choose to be selfless? Like,
Right.
all of you, yeah. I was just because. It was mainly between Avery and Kelsey who were trying to get that $0 briefcase. I'm like, y'all are trying to be selfless? Like, this is very unlike both of you.
That should have been a hint right there. Like, Kazi trying to, like, do when. Okay, so let's move on because, like, they chose who had the cases. They chose who had the cases. Will obviously didn't want to choose the 8,000 case because he again feels like he has the most money, and then he was just like he already did enough for the group.
Mhm.
But we're at the table. Kazi decides once everyone makes a decision because Kazi, I think Avery's the one who had the $0 case, and Kazi had the
$1,000
yeah,
case.
$1,000 case. Kazi then decides, I really feel like I should take the $0 case. At that moment, I would have been like, no. I would have been like,
That's what I feel like Avery should have done too. She just didn't, and that
yeah,
like.
no. I would have been like, no. Because regardless if I were to go home or not, why are you trying to switch now? That means subconsciously in your head, you think. And that's where I felt like Avery should have picked up at. Like, and that's why I was like,
Mhm.
Will reads better than Avery because Avery should have read her on that. Like, you trying to switch last minute after we all came to the conclusion, we all had the discussion, there was no more fighting, there was no more this and third. Like, you should have, like, you know what I mean? Like, it just should have,
Mhm.
I don't know. But so at the end, Kazi and Avery, they switched their.
Yep. So at the end of the briefcase switch, all the briefcases are doled out. The group was kind of like, well, whoever we think for sure is going to be in the next round is the person that we should give the $8,000 briefcase to. So everyone collectively just says, okay, Joy, you're getting the $8,000 briefcase. And I'm like, yeah, Mom's going to make it through. You don't have to worry about her. And then Will gets the
Bag.
$3,000 briefcase. Avery gets the $1,000 briefcase. And Kossie gets what she wants and gets the $0 briefcase. And then we go to
Exactly.
the penultimate quiz of the season. And nobody's safe. No exemptions have been doled out. You got 4 players, all of them striving to stay in the game. And Sam DMV, who went home,
It is none other than
Avery. I was upset. I'll be real. I was upset. And not because I love Avery or anything. I think off camera, she's a lot more fun and interesting than she was portrayed on camera. But from what I have been able to see from her and from a lot of other people, Will was not the most nice person to be around this season. Right. So they were all kind of hoping Will would go home, even if that meant they wouldn't get the $3,000 for the pot.
Well, with that, I feel like, and adding on to that, I just feel like, wouldn't it have been nice first season of the reboot for it to be an all-girl fine, like, no, they would.
Okay,
they would have
literally this entire season. If we were going to get any men in the final, it would either have to have been Pranav or Greg. If I was getting anybody else, I would have been bitter. Like 2 T's, capital B, 70 R's, bitter. Like, oof. Yeah. But so before we continue discussion though, that added up. So because Avery went home, that meant the $1,000 briefcase went with her. So Kossie brought the $0 briefcase through. Will brought the $3,000 briefcase through. Joy brought the $8,000 briefcase through. So that brought their grand totals from this particular mission to $11K. So as of right now, the pot stands at $96,500 out of a possible $235,000. So there's that. Now, before we talk about why Avery went home, last time I'll bring it up this week, Pinky swear, Pinky promise right here. Avery mentioned in her behind the scenes video that she was talking to Sandy the week that Sandy went home, like before the quiz, right? And Avery said that she was pretty certain that the mole was Kossie, right? Like that was who she had decided on, right? But she was still going to hedge her bets because she didn't want to guess and be wrong. So Sandy said, screw it. She told Avery, she says, screw it, I'm going to go all in on Kossie on this next quiz, right? Turns out Sandy went all in on Avery on that quiz. And that's why she went home.
Sandy, let me just
so Sandy is the reason Avery went home. Purple Sandy, exactly.
Why?
Purple Sandy doing her thing. But yeah, so Sandy's the reason Avery went home because Avery's would circle back her suspicions to Kossie all the time. But because she thought Sandy had went all in on Kossie and went home, she never guessed she wasn't aiming for Kossie on that quiz. So that's why Avery went home.
It's just like Sandy, like y'all know.
Wow.
Sandy,
yeah.
Why Sandy? Why? Like, Why Sandy? Like, first off, for me, Sandy, you should have just went home first. Like, you should have really went home first. At this point, I'm really just trying to figure out why in your head do you think the mole would deliberately go to you, to you, out of everyone to you, to tell you that they have an inkling on someone who might be the mole, and then two, why are you not in your head thinking about, well, if I were the mole, and I'm looking at Kazi and I'm looking at Avery, who could be more like, you know?
Mm-hmm. And Purple Sandy. That is, yeah.
Because like,
So, but then again, that makes Avery more reasonable too. Of her thinking, oh, it can't be Causey. That's why I'm going to focus on these other people, because she thought there was no way it could have been Causey. I feel bad for her because she didn't get screwed up by her own intuition. She got screwed based off of something she thought was empirical fact, and that sucks.
Right, when Avery looking at it, when Sandy goes home, saying it's just like, okay, well, Sandy put the bet on Causey, so if Sandy went home, then that obviously means it can't be Causey. And then my head, that, like, I agree with you, that fucked Avery up, because at a certain point Avery was fucking up certain decisions, but I would have been mad if she was in the final. I would have, because I mean, like, Avery, you're not doing a bang up job, but I mean, you and Joy were playing the same level of the game. And if I were to want Joy to get to the end, I have to respect that I want you to get to the end as well. Because really, to be honest, what was Will doing?
Being annoying and being awful TV and making everyone that, because I have yet to see a single person that has watched this season of the show that has been like, yeah, I loved Will. Will was super fun to watch. I don't know anybody who said that, because he was just so toxic and negative and brought the entire mood down the entire season, and it was just so irritating.
I feel like I would have preferred Dom over Will any day.
I would have preferred literally any male on this cast over Will. If we had to get a guy in the final, literally, not even any male, any person on this cast in that final over Will, based on the edit we got. I would have taken freaking Samara, Purple Samara. I would have taken her to the freaking final three over Will. I would have taken Osei over Will to the final three. Like, this man is obnoxious, and he is so cocky, and he just has this like massive ego, and apparently he's also a misogynist. But like,
could we not? I mean, let me, we'll discuss this on episode 10, because I have a lot to say about Will, because I obviously his little Twitter post before I got off of Twitter. I've been seeing his Twitter posts and everything like that as well during actually when the season was going and stuff. And yeah, like, y'all, whoever's watching and whatever the case may be, y'all need to stop bigging this man head up. Like, please stop bigging this man head up. Like, I'm not gonna say too much because this is not that type of podcast.
This isn't a Twitter space. We gotta keep it moderately professional.
Please, we want to keep it professional. We want to keep it so professional.
We swear all the time on here. It's fine.
We can swear. We just can't go into like drama here.
Stop bigging Will's head up for real, please.
Because this man does not need it. Like, he is totally fine without your constant praise.
I think he's physically
attractive, yes. Okay.
Very attractive. I hate his character though. Like,
yeah, like the type of
okay,
yeah, you can look at him, okay, cool, but not even for too long, because he's not even all that. Because, like, I don't know, I guess me personally, like, he's just not my cup of tea. But like, even then too, it's just like, you can look good, but when your personality, like, that's why a lot of people say personality matters, because, like, you can look good, and I want you to look good, but when your personality is just not giving, and then you're like, the way you act outside of the show is showing that, oh, that's who you really are. Like, you're really like that. So it's just like, that makes it even worse, because it's just like, you're really like that. Who would want to be around someone who wants to be such narcissistic and manipulative and so controlling as well? Like, why would anyone want to be around somebody that's controlling like that? But I'm not gonna get into it, because I got a lot to say, because I was about to start touching into episode 10, but I'm not gonna say too much. I'm just gonna.
All right. So, as of this point in the season, we are down to our final three competitors. We are down to Joy, Cassie and Will. The pot stands at $96,500 out of a possible $235,000.
Yep.
And next time we see you all, we're going to reveal not only who the mole is, who the winner is, who the runner-up is. We're going to find our replacements for our final three. We're going to tell you how much money they have in the pot because there is still one mission left to go. Results of the final quiz. We're going to go into hopefully a little bit of the exclusive stuff that aired on YouTube after the fact that gave you some hints as to who the mole was. If you guys are still watching with us, which we really appreciate, even though the show came out a couple weeks ago at this point, go back and watch some of these older episodes because there are some hints buried through here that could tell you who the mole is. So if you want to look into that, go ahead and look into that. Let us know who you think is the mole if you are not spoiled, because I would love to see who you all thought. When your original watches, at this point, who were your guesses? I'm just curious.
No shade to me. These little episodes I almost exposed a couple times. So sorry, y'all. But anyway.
So, yeah, if this is the first episode you're watching,
Right.
us talking about it,
Yes.
then yes.
Yeah. But yeah, so thank you guys so much for drinking some tea with us.
Yeah.
And
Cheers.
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 Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Comment, subscribe, hit the bell icon, do all the good stuff.
Comments.
Bye. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Are you
Bye.
still here? Please leave.
It's over.